Hello everyone, this is Amr Salim, and in this video I'm gonna show you how you can use a Swagger MCP server in an interesting QA use case. So if you are into automation test or just curious how AI can help in real projects, so this one is for you. So now, imagine if you were able to generate all API automation test cases in a Blink using AI with minimal effort, making you more productive and giving you a proper API test coverage. All of this can simply be done using Swagger MCP server with LLM in agent mode, and just let the magic happen. So let's start. As you can see, we have Swagger API documentation here listing a bunch of API endpoints covering most of the common HTTP verbs like get, post, delete, and so on. The Swagger API documentation will actually be used as a context, allowing the LLM to understand and interact with all our API endpoints throughout the MCP server. So now let's jump into our IDE. In my case, I'm using VS Code. Now I will be navigating to mcp.json file and starting the Swagger MCP server along with the file system MCP server, which will allow writing test script files in our defined directory. In the Copilot chat window, I will make sure I'm in agent mode, and then I will drop my query. Basically, you can write something like execute all API test cases against all API endpoints, then write the test script in my root directory. You can also define further details like what is the test framework that you would like to use, what is the programming language, and so on. And that's it. I don't have to give any extra context or explain further information to the LLM. The LLM will handle the rest through the Swagger MCP server. And as we can see now, the LLM starts to analyze the workspace structure utilizing file system MCP server to identify the root directory, which will be used later to write our test script. Then as we can see, the Swagger MCP tool kicks in to fetch the Swagger information, which will return a Swagger JSON object that contain all required information. This information will be used by the LLM to identify the available API endpoint by using a list endpoint tool. And now one by one, each endpoint gets analyzed using get endpoint details available tool to figure out its specifications such as HTTP method, content type, and so on. At this point, the LLM also grabs the necessary authentication token so it can make the right authentication request and run the required test cases. After LLM gathers all required information and authentication token, now the LLM is utilizing the MCP server to perform multiple API requests and execute some test cases for each API endpoint. Once everything is understood, the LLM uses the file writing tool to generate the API test script right in our directory or whatever directory we have specified. It also analyzing and installing the needed package. In our case, we are using Supertest and Mocha. Test has been executed even if an error pops up as we are observing now, seem like something related to ETH module syntax, but we actually need CommonJS, so don't worry, the LLM can still fix that for us, so we can always adjust the prompt later to avoid it in the future. And looks like the LLM has successfully resolved the issue by adjusting the script, and the test has been successfully executed. And we can see now a list of test suites for every API endpoint. Each one has, as you can see, detailed test cases that cover almost every possible scenario. Even those hidden bugs that we are aware of that usually slip through has been detected. So imagine how much time and effort it could be needed to write detailed API automation test cases in a Blink. For example, in our demos, LLM manages to write almost 60 test cases, not generic one, but tailored one based on the provided information from the Swagger. But also worth mentioning, you should still review the generated test cases, evaluate each to ensure you have reliable automation test cases that cover your needs. And just like that, we are done with this quick demo. I hope it was useful or at least give you some kind of inspiration. If you like it, please give it a spin. And again, thank you guys for watching and stay tuned for more cool stuff coming soon. See ya.